let's make one thing clear. The title said better body, but it didn't say anything about a good looking body. The aim of this video is to improve your body's ability to function throughout your life. For example, carrying loads such as fishing buckets becomes easier and you feel better with your exercise than you did without the exercise. With the second goal being a better looking body, which will inevitably happen. As you can see, this is quite the long video, so if you can't finish it all in one go, that's okay. Click off and come back to the chapter you last visited whenever you want to continue watching the video. I'm sure you've seen those Greek statues of men and wondered, how does somebody look like that? Or maybe you've seen gym guys lift 800 pounds and wonder, how does somebody lift something that heavy? Well, you're in luck, because I've got a few tips to share with you. No, it probably won't make you look like a Greek god. And no, I don't promise that you'll be able to lift 800 pounds in your first workout if you follow these tips. What I do promise you is a stronger, healthier, and slightly better looking body than the average male. If you put in the work regularly, you'll notice astounding results. But that's up to you. I'm just here to share what I know. I'm sure you've heard the saying, abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym. That's like saying you get big biceps from eating broccoli. Sure, nutrition helps, but it isn't the be-all end-all solution. Abs, just like any other muscle group, needs to be trained in order to look developed. Nevertheless, I've started this part of the video with nutrition, since this is where it seems to be the most confusion, especially today. Do I go paleo? Do I go keto? Do I go vegetarian? Is going vegan better? Or is not going vegan better? As you can see, there are quite a few discrepancies, and with so much information available to everybody today, it seems difficult. The first chapter of this video, calorie counting. If you've watched any sort of fitness influencer for any sort of time, you would have noticed that they do something called calorie counting. Essentially, they measure how many calories they eat in a day so that they could either increase their weight and then have that turn into muscle, or maintain their weight, or maybe they're trying to cut down. The only problem with this is you need to be very specific, else you could either gain weight when you're trying to lose it, or you could lose weight when you're trying to maintain. To do this, you of course also need a food scale. I call it a food scale. It weighs your food in grams, and then you could use MyFitnessPal and then calculate how many grams of food that you've eaten. A little solution for home cooked food when you're not sure how much, let's say your mom's chicken curry, you're not sure how many calories are actually in the curry, because it doesn't say, it doesn't have a packed label. What you do is you take the chicken and you put it and you weigh it on the scale, and then you use MyFitnessPal and it'll just be chicken however many grams, and then it spit out the calories in it. The problem with this approach, obviously, is that I don't have a food scale. So I took a little different approach. What I do is I look at my bowl and I try to estimate how many grams of, let's say, white rice I had, how many grams of spinach I had. So I'm doing this since May 13th. So I do it from May 13th all the way till like the end of June. My cousin, after we've graduated, she's hosting, her mother's hosting a graduate's party because she's 4 years older than me. So she graduated university and became a nurse, and I graduated high school. So as we're there, I'm going downstairs to go pray, and I step on the scale. I realize I'm at 142 pounds. I was supposed to be around 138 at the time because I was trying to lose a little bit, I was trying to cut down. That shocked me a little bit. I realized that if I don't have a food scale, my estimates are going to be inaccurate. And for the most part, my mother takes out my food. She takes out all of her food. I prefer it that way, since it's simpler. The method I'm doing now is called the Jeff Cavalier diet. I don't know if Jeff Cavalier from Athlete Next actually does this with his food. I don't really know much about his nutrition, but what I do know is that I heard he does it in a video. The premise behind it is you can't eat too much of something that's good for you. So what I'll do is I'll just eat 3 healthy meals. In one meal I have plantain sweet potato with baked chicken. Or for breakfast I might have spinach and roti. And I'll just eat until I'm full. And what this does is allow me to get full without gaining too much weight. Allows me to just maintain. If I wanted to put more weight on, I just add a little bit more. So I eat until I'm full, and then there'd be that little extra portion on my plate that I'll eat so that I can put on weight. For myself, I eat 3 meals a day. The only little snack I'll have in between is a bowl of fruit. So some cut up strawberries, pears, apples, blueberries, the usual mother special. Another thing I noticed though is the tendency to binge eat. One day when I was just sitting down at my desk doing work, I noticed my younger brother. He walked past with a bag of no-name sour cream chips. Of course I didn't want any because I know I'd feel bad after eating it. As you always do when you eat junk food, you will feel bad. So I'd refused, but that didn't do anything to help my craving. After that, I was trying very hard not to just go grab the bag of potato chips and start eating from it. My mother buys these bags of sweet chili crackers from Dare that are baked. I ended up going through an entire package of that. After eating 3 meals, that's at around 810 calories. I'm only supposed to have around 2,000 calories to maintain my weight, around 140 pounds. Not the best. There are 2 hypothetical solutions I've come up with for this. The one I'm doing now personally is I have a little treat or something that I don't eat almost every day or whenever I'm feeling a craving. So the healthy treat that I'm having currently is a banana milkshake. And I'll just have that every time I feel a craving for something unhealthy. The other option is you could eat something a little smaller, like a Lindt chocolate, but you eat it slowly. The key here is to make sure that the chocolate lasts. Hamza, the self-improvement YouTuber I mentioned earlier, would eat it with his tea, and by the time he finished his tea, he'd finish his chocolate. He wouldn't just pop the entire thing in his mouth. And this is the one golden tip I want you to take away from this video. If there's nothing else that you take away, I want you to remember that you should enjoy your diet if you're trying to eat healthy. Yes, just because it's a vegetable doesn't mean it's gonna taste bad. Doesn't mean you're gonna spit it out the moment you put it in your mouth. There are plenty of cooking tutorials out there to help you with making things that taste good, making specifically healthy food taste good. For myself, I enjoy my mother's cooking. I enjoy her fried rice. I enjoy her spinach. And I'm sure a lot of you enjoy your parents' cooking. Just try to eat that more often and toe down with the cookies. Stop eating your cookies. There are many diets out there, as I mentioned earlier in the video. If you're not exactly sure on what you should eat, a rule of thumb would be eating from the 4 main food groups that you normally find on the Canadian Food Guide. Yes, the one that you were introduced to in 2nd grade. Meats and alternatives, grains, dairy, fruits and vegetables. Try eating those, and then you can sort out what works for you, what doesn't, what you don't like. Alright, so now we get into the latter portion of this video and nutrition, where I'm just talking about little situations you might have found yourself in before. The first one is junk food. Now I'm sure you've seen fitness influencers just binge eat junk food at one point or another. Maybe you yourself have eaten junk food at a point where you thought, alright, I haven't eaten anything for today. If I eat this junk food, I won't get fat. But it's not just about the calories. You may not get fat. What happens to all that sugar in the food if you were eating ice cream? Or all that salt if you were eating chips? What happens to all those preservatives that they put into those foods? The point I'm trying to make here is, it's not about the calories, it's also about the nutritional content of the food you eat. That's why if you have a space and you're wondering whether you're gonna fill those calories with ice cream or white rice, you should opt for that healthier solution. And now for the last chapter in the diet portion of the section. Eat 1/3, drink 1/3, leave 1/3 empty. Those of you that are Muslim might have heard this before, but I think I wanted to stress it again to those of you that might not have heard about this rule. You do as it says. You fill 1/3 of your stomach with food, the other 1/3 with drink, and then leave 1/3 empty. The goal here is that once you're finished eating your food, you're able to go and continue your daily activities. You're not supposed to be lethargic after you finish eating, and the only thing you want to do is lay down. To illustrate this point, I'll actually share with you a story of myself. When I was 14, I remember I'd been obsessed with putting on muscle. So much so that over the summer break, the only two things I would do was exercise and eat. When I'd finish a meal, even if I didn't work out that day, because I just piled so much food onto my plate, I'd be lethargic. I'd just watch YouTube all day. That is not what you want to do as a person that's aspiring to improve themselves. So make sure that you fill 1/3 with your food, 1/3 with drink, and you leave 1/3 empty. Now we move into the second part of this video guide. Exercise. The first thing I needed to tell you guys is don't overload your workout routine. I've only had 3 exercises, and then only recently have I added 3 more. And even then, during the winter, I might not do one of them. When you overload your routine with too many exercises, it becomes too much of a hassle and takes way too much of your time for you to exercise. So you just stop the habit completely. Or maybe you do stick to it, but you're so exhausted after exercising that you don't want to do anything else, and so you quit exercising altogether. Neither of these is ideal. Keep it simple. Big compound exercises. The second thing I want to tell you is be patient. It'll probably take months if you just started working out for you to see any sort of results that surprise you, but that's okay. That's normal. Just stick with it, be patient, and I guarantee you that you will see results. And the third thing I need to tell you, as a young man, you should be lifting weight. Let me ask you the question. Which man do you respect more, without him saying a word to you? The man with the skinny physique of a marathon runner, or the well-built physique of a man that lifts regularly? Chances are it's the latter. Whenever you walk into a room, people have already made their opinions about you before you've even opened your mouth. Don't be the person that they think is a wimp. Now for the exercise routine. There are 2 routines that I have. The first is a calisthenics routine that I'll do in the summer to take a break if I feel like I've been doing the same thing for way too long. And the second one is a weighted routine that I do for most of the year. The first routine that I'm going to cover is the weighted routine because I do it so often. It's comprised of 3 exercises: farmer's walks, deadlifts, and overhead presses. I usually start out with farmer's walks. If I'm coming off a 2-day break that I take, I'll just start walking around with 35-pound dumbbells in each hand, which is 70 pounds. I'll walk around with that, and then take a break, do the same thing over. The day after, I'll scale up 5 more pounds, so I'll go up to 40s on either side, which is 10-pound total scale up, and I'll walk around. And then after that, I'll scale down 0.1% or 10%. I'll bring it down and I'll walk around with that weight. So I only do 2 sets. In between those 2 sets, I have a 2-minute break in between. Once I'm finished doing farmer's walks, after my second set of farmer's walks, I'll take a 3-minute break, and then I'll move into overhead presses. For overhead presses, it's pretty much the same thing as farmer's walks. If I did 35s on the farmer's walks, I'll do 35 on the overhead presses. If I moved up to 40 on the varmint squats, I'll do 40s with my overhead presses and so on. After my first set, I'll have a 3-minute break and then do my second set. I generally do it so that I don't do anything more than 5 reps. After 5 reps, you're not really testing your strength, which is what this guy is really aiming to give you, a functional body. And then the final exercise, of course, are deadlifts. My starting weight is around 140 pounds. So I'll start at that and I'll scale up. Yes, I'll warm up with the bar maybe, but that's only really for form. 140 pounds is where I start at. And then I slowly build up, adding 30 to 40 pounds. You really only need 5 to 6 sessions before you take a 2-day break and then restart from your low. The point is, you're trying to have a new PR or a new record by lifting a certain weight that you can only do 1 to 2 reps with 3 to 4 times the next round. With deadlifts, I'll do the starting weight, and then after that I'll take a 3-minute break and do the starting weight again. At home I don't really have much of a choice, so it's really just the dumbbells I use, and I just keep using that over and over. For the calisthenics routine, it's all over the place. I don't have a set in stone routine that I usually do, but I'll share some of the exercises that I tend to do. The first are muscle ups. Nope, they're not pretty, but I can get myself over the bar, something a lot of people can't do. I like to do them personally. If you can't do them, just do explosive pull-ups. The second exercise I like to do are pullovers. I remember my friend showed me how to do it the first time in September 2021. It took me a few months. I think the first time I did a pullover was November that year. It took me a little bit, but I remember it was thrilling once I got it. After that, I'll generally do archer pull-ups. If I don't do those, I'll do the one exercise where you have both hands on the bar like this and your head is moving over. I don't know what those are called, but once I'm finished from the bar, I'll move on to push-ups. I'll warm up with clapping push-ups, and then I'll move on to doing one-arm push-up progressions. So I might go to a bench and I'll put my hand on the bench and I'll try to push myself up with that one hand while leaning on the bench. If that's too hard, you can move up to something higher. And then as you get better at the exercise, continually move lower and lower and lower until eventually you're doing the full one-arm push-up. After that, it's legs. So pistol squat progressions, where I'll try to sit down on a chair while doing pistol squats. And then after that, it's just really stretching and going back home. There won't be a summary for this video because of how many parts there are to cover. You might as well just look through each one of the chapters, the names of the chapters, to gain a summary rather than me having to go over all of it in this section. What I will remind you to do is do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Because you likely will not feel like doing something that's hard all the time, like exercising all the time, like studying all the time. But that doesn't mean that you don't do it just because you don't feel like doing it. If it's part of your schedule that day, then you'll do it because it's a habit, because you have to do it. Remember, do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.